The magic ratio, according to the Gottman Institute, is a 5 to 1, meaning 5 positive interactions to 1 negative interaction. Now, of course, there's some flaws in that ratio in that we're not accounting for the intensity of the negative versus the intensity of the positive to counteract that negative, right? So if you're like, oh, hey, I banged your sister, but I bought you these flowers, cooked dinner, you look pretty today. I sent that email you wanted me to send, whatever, pick a number 5 thing, and I'm sorry for banging your sister, apology or something, right? Those 5 positives aren't necessarily going to counteract the fact that you just banged your sister. You see what I'm saying? So there's an intensity thing that we need to consider. What the model does illustrate is that when you have a negative impact or interaction in your relationship, it has more gravity than the positive. So if I have a negative interaction, it's going to take away from my relationship more than a positive interaction is going to add to. Okay. The reason is because as human beings, we are risk averse rather than goal centered or happiness and success motivated. All right. That's our instincts. What kept us alive is being risk averse. What kills us is being success motivated without any mitigation for risk, right? So if I'm going big or go home on that big hunt or big battle in evolutionary times, putting myself more at risk of not surviving, aren't I? And so this is why even in your own goals in your own life and on a neurological level, you're more motivated to stick with where you're at, status quo, and what's comfortable, and to avoid pain rather than to pursue something that is better for you or brings your life and standards to a higher level, right? And so, like in my mindset course, a lot of stuff for helping you with your goals is designed to essentially trick your neurological system into making where you're at a painful enough place to be for you to go someplace better. But then, of course, it's managing that pain. It's not, creating toxic pain where it cripples you and it makes everything unpleasant either. So, it's being able to achieve things in a peaceful mind state, knowing with confidence of your success, but having your intrinsic reward be towards the actions for achieving things rather than being rewarded for avoiding the activities that you would need to do to be successful. So in any sense, point is with conflict though, and with relationship dynamics, is that we're going to avoid that pain and avoid that negative, because the negative is just more impacting. And when something negative happens to us in a relationship or in any part of our lives, it's going to have a greater emotional impact than the positive thing. So now the intensity again does matter, but assuming equal intensity, it's going to take you 5 roughly positive, experiences with your partner to interact a negative one. Arguably, if you are if you're at 5 to 1 or better, okay, your partner's going to have good emotions towards you and want to stick with you and want to work things out when problems happen. If you throw that ratio off, and let's say you're 2 or 3 negatives to 3 or 4 positives, then her feelings of your value is going to get less and less, and this is where devaluing occurs. Now in the case of personality disorders, women and men will devalue their partners, and they'll do so almost as part of that condition of that disorder. And sometimes people will do it intentionally, but unintentional devaluation can occur in normal, healthy people. And this is what happens when conflict arises and you don't handle it properly and you throw this magic ratio off. But of course, how do you address a problem and keep the magic ratio? And that's, the answer is simple, but the how-to part is complicated. And then do you have the ingredients to do it? Right. And so that's where a couple of things, I need to promote here so you have more resources. One is my year-long mastermind group. I can give you all the information. I'm not giving you necessarily all of the information that I have behind a paywall. There's a lot more behind a paywall. But in terms of handling conflict, I'm going to hand you all the information here, but you just won't be able to execute it properly, because what it takes to handle conflict properly is a emotional calibration and emotional mastery and self-awareness. And that's going to take some time to work out, right? If you could immediately have all the self-awareness and emotional mastery and emotional calibration, you wouldn't have any problems. I could just tell you the how to, and you wouldn't need a year-long program with me. But we're constantly improving our awareness of ourselves and having mastery over our emotions and our mind, and being able to be calibrated to a situation. That is what success or failure depends on, and not just in your relationships, but in other areas of your life.